Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And it's awfully good that you guys took some time out of your day to come and hang out here with us, and we are very happy that you did. And listen, guys, here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In our first half of our show, we're going to take some predetermined topics. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to take some of your live comments and questions. If you'd like to fire in a live comment or question to be read on this show or an upcoming companion video, simply use the tip link that's down in the description of this video, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if we deem it appropriate for our show, of course. And of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. And all of us involved here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. And just a heads up, guys, you know, I'm doing the John Campea Show all solo this week. I haven't done a solo week of the John Campea Show in a while, so I decided I'm going to do an all solo week, kind of go back to the origin days of the John Campea Show. So that's what we're doing here for the next couple of days. All right. With all that stuff down, let's get into some topics here. We're going to start with an off the top. Well, actually, before we do that, I just want to also do a little bit of house cleaning and remind you guys that if you can't get your fix of the John Campea Show daily because you can't be in front of a YouTube video, good news, there is an audio-only version of the show called the John Campea Show podcast. If you are commuting or you're at work, you're at the gym, audio-only versions for you. Just go to your favorite podcasting app of choice, search for the John Campea Show podcast, and so go and subscribe to it today so it will be there when you need it. Okay, now with that down, let's get into an off the top. And the off the top is a pretty good one. And that is this. You know, a little while ago, I believe it was at the Disney Investor Day meeting. Now, I might be wrong about this, but I think it was back at the Disney Investor Day meeting when they were announcing all, you know, the MCU projects, and they were announcing all the Star Wars projects and a lot of stuff for Hulu and effects and everything. It was, I believe it was at that event that they first announced that there was going to be a Buzz Lightyear standalone movie, or a Buzz Lightyear origin story, if you will. And it was just going to be called Lightyear. Well, I was not expecting it. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't think it was coming anytime soon. But this morning, the first teaser for Lightyear dropped. And it's not what I was expecting at all. It's not what I was expecting at all. And I don't know if you guys have seen this thing here yet, but it goes into once the Starman music starts playing, Starman is like doing all this thing. Okay, look, take out of the equation here for a second that this is a Toy Story spin-off movie. Take out of the equation that this is Buzz Lightyear, a character that you and I, a lot of us, have grown up watching and loving and adoring and, you know, laughed with and cried with all through the 4 Toy Story movies and all that kind of stuff. Take all that out of it. If this teaser had just dropped and it wasn't even Buzz Lightyear, I would still think this was a fascinating looking animated project. Like, I would still think this looks really, really good. The fact that it's Buzz Lightyear and we're looking at him in a totally different way right now, I think is fantastic. Now, the only thing about the teaser that I didn't completely love, the only thing about the teaser that I didn't love was the fact, and this is kind of like a complaint of omission, but we only got to hear Chris Evans, who's doing the voice of Buzz Lightyear, do just a couple of words. Because what did she say? What did he say? To infinity? And we didn't even hear him beyond. I don't think we even heard and beyond. I only watched the trailer once, so I can't remember exactly. But we only got to hear him say like one thing. But then again, you know, I can hear a bunch of you right now. But John, it's just the first teaser. You're right. You are 100% right. 1,000% right. It was probably creatively the right decision to have it not finish the catchphrase, because we as the audience will then say the catchphrase, right? That was probably the right creative decision. But I just wanted to hear him say it. I'm sure we'll hear him say it in another iteration of the trailer at some point. But yeah, guys, I thought this Buzz Lightyear, or the movie's called Lightyear. I thought it was great. I thought this teaser was great. It got me really excited for it. I cannot wait to see it. Question is for you guys. Did you guys have a chance to see this Lightyear teaser trailer that dropped this morning? If so, what did you think? Did you love it as much as I did? Maybe you looked at it and thought, meh, there's not really much there. I can understand that. Whatever you guys are feeling about it, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, you guys know. It's easy. You guys come up with our main topics. You see, whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the John Campea Show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number one. And our first main topic today gets sent to us by Jake L. And Jake L writes, "Hey, John, I just saw the news that Ryan Gosling is in talks of reuniting with Derek." Now, I never pronounced Derek's last name right. Cianfrance? I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, and if I am, forgive me. Director of Place Beyond the Pines and Blue Valentine, to make a modern take on the Wolfman. They say it's going to be similar to The Invisible Man that came out in 2018. I'm a big fan of The Place Beyond the Pines, and even though some people may think it bites off more than it can chew, I'm actually one of those people. I'm intrigued and curious to see how this movie will turn out. What are your thoughts on the news? Do you think they'll be able to modernize this classic from the 1940s? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, actually, first thing you should know, Jake, is that this wasn't just announced. Ryan Gosling doing a Wolfman movie has actually kind of been on the books for a while. I mean, a good long while. And what's actually really interesting is that with this new director coming in, it's a director change. Because you mentioned The Invisible Man from 2018 with Elizabeth Moss. Was it already all the way back in 2018 or was it 2019? Anyway, I believe Leigh Whannell was supposed to be writing the script and directing this Wolfman movie with Ryan Gosling, but then they made a bit of a shift. Then they made a change. And I think this change is good because this is a director that Ryan Gosling has worked with together very, very well. Anyway, take a look at this. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who write, Ryan Gosling's Wolfman reboot will follow in the spiritual footsteps of Leigh Whannell's 2020. That's what it was, 2020. I knew it wasn't 2018. 2020's hit The Invisible Man and previously had Whannell tapped as both the co-writer and director. That's not the case anymore, however, with Wolfman now being helmed by someone Gosling is quite familiar with. Derek Cianfrance is perhaps best known for his two collaborations with Gosling. 2010's Blue Valentine, which is awesome, by the way, but we'll talk about that in a minute, which earned Michelle Williams an Oscar nomination, and 2012's The Place Beyond the Pines. He's a storyteller who delves into personal traumas and situations that are indeed horrific, even if they don't count as horror. And that comes to us again from the folks over at Variety. And yeah, listen, I actually had a chance to talk to Derek. Like when I was at AMC, one of the very first interviews I got to do was with Derek, the director, to talk about Blue Valentine. And I had talked to him before I saw the movie. So we just talked about it. Really, I got to talk to him about it in theoreticals and stuff like that. Blue Valentine is outstanding. It's an absolutely outstanding film. Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams in that are so freaking good. And you guys know I always say the number one job of the director is to get the best performance out of the actors as possible. And he did a fantastic job on that film with both Gosling and Michelle Williams. I'll be honest with you, I was not as big of a fan of A Place Beyond the Pines. Now, but a lot of my friends love it. Like a lot of people I know absolutely adore that film. Didn't quite work so well for me, and that's totally fine. But that Blue Valentine is great. Now, was I excited that Leigh Whannell was probably the guy who directed, the Invisible movie, was going to now come and do this with Ryan Gosling? Yes. But I also know that this director and Ryan Gosling have made magic together before. So bringing him in to do this, I think is pretty cool. And I'm glad that there's finally some movement on this Wolfman project again. So I'm really happy about it and excited about it. Anyway, the question is for you guys. What do you think about this news that they're doing a director change on this Wolfman movie, but it's a director, Derek, that has worked with Ryan very successfully in the past? Do you think it would have been better if they stayed with 1L? Do you think this is going to improve the film? Do you think we'll just have to wait and see? Are you even excited about this movie at all? I kind of am. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Jacob Vence, who writes, "Hey, John, Apple TV Plus has been one of my favorite streaming apps lately, me too, to be honest, especially with Ted Lasso. I wanted to know if you've had a chance to watch their new highly anticipated series, Invasion, yet. They've launched the first 3 episodes, and I'm really interested in seeing where they go from here. What do you think of it so far? Do you see a lot of potential here?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, ever since I saw the first teaser for Invasion, I think that's Sam Neill playing the sheriff. Ever since I saw the first teaser for it, I thought, ooh, this could be really, really good. Then when I realized that Simon Kinberg, who, put the mess of X-Men, Dark Phoenix, whatever what was, let's put that aside for a second. I've really liked a hell of a lot of Simon Kinberg's work. I think he's great. I mean, I don't think an X-Men film was the right property to make your directorial debut. Kind of proved that, but that notwithstanding, I really do like Simon Kinberg a lot. He has brought a lot to the world of geek fandom and stuff like that, so that really interested me. And I also liked, as more and more teasers for the series started to come out, I really liked the notion that it kind of felt like this was going to be kind of a slow burn kind of a story. And I kind of like it when slow burns get applied to things like sci-fi, right? So with all that, I sat down to watch the first 3 episodes of Invasion. And before I give you my thoughts, let me share with you some thoughts of television critics from over at, I believe, IndieWire, who wrote the following, and I kind of, unfortunately, have to agree with them. They wrote this: Invasion has a few of those, talking about tropes. One of the first clues that this newest Apple TV Plus series, created by Simon Kinberg and David Weil, isn't doing much more than rearranging a box full of previously used ideas. Sheriff John Bell Tyson, Sam Neill, is serving his final days as a sheriff in Oklahoma town. Anisha Malik, played by, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this name, forget it, I butcher all names, Golshafeth Farhani, is in the midst of a crisis that could crumble her family's suburban Long Island happiness. Mitsuki Yamato, Shioli Kutsunana, who, by the way, I believe she's the girl who played, what's in Deadpool 2, she played the girlfriend. What was the girlfriend's name that she's one who always said, "Hi, Wade." Remember that? I think that's the same girl. I'm pretty sure that's the same girl. I could be wrong about that. But at any rate, is in the midst of a crisis of family, sits on the command center of historic launch from a Japanese space program. So what they're talking about in IndieWire, Yukio, thank you everybody in the live chat. I believe that girl, the Japanese girl in the show Invasion, I believe that's Yukio. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's her. Anyway, so IndieWire, they were first saying that it's stereotypical in a lot of these disaster movies that we first meet the main characters when they're in a terrible place in their lives. They're in the midst of a terrible personal tragedy, or they're at their personal lows. And they're right. Like most disaster movies, that's what happens. We meet the main character and completely unrelated to the topic or to the plot of the film, they're at a real low in their life. Maybe their best friend just died, or they just lost their job, or they can't get their screenplay picked up, or, something like that, right? And then the IndieWire writer points out, and that's exactly what they do in Invasion. Every single character you meet is like at this low point in their lives. It's like, wow, yeah, that's really well said. I will say this. I really wanted to like Invasion. I think I am now tapped out of it after 3 episodes. Now, remember a little bit earlier I said, I love it when like a sci-fi concept adds a slow burn. Well, there's a slow burn, and then there's never being able to get the lighter lit. Click, 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 the little spark, but it never lights up. Click, click, click. To me, that's invasion. That's invasion to me. Because I am now 3 episodes in, which is, I'm roughly almost around 3 hours into the show. And after 3 hours, it's been the same thing over and over and over again. For those of you who've seen the series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, we meet this person in their life. Things aren't going so good. And then something mysterious happens. Now we go meet somebody else in their life, and things aren't going so good. And something mysterious happens. Then we go over here across the ocean, and we meet somebody else who's in a not very good place in their life. And then something mysterious happens. And then we go back to the first person. They're still not so good. And something mysterious. It is 3 hours of this. 3 hours. And what's unfortunate about this is the fact that I actually think every one of the individual characters that the show examines could have a really compelling story if they just told that story. Like Sam Neill Sheriff, if you just stayed with Sam Neill Sheriff and told his story, I think I'd be interested in that. The soldier in Afghanistan, if you just told his story, I'd be interested in that. The family where the father's having an affair, if you just stayed with their story, I think would be interesting. The one I liked the most, though, was the Japanese one. That was the one that I really did like a lot. Because the one with Yukio, and I'm sure I can't pronounce her last name. I'm just going to call her Yukio from now on. But the story with her, the way they set it up with she was actually secretly in love with, like, her and the lead main astronaut are actually secretly in love with each other. And they're deeply, deeply in love, and the tragedy of losing one and all that. There is a fascinating story there to tell. But instead of getting into anything meaty, instead of getting into anything interesting, instead of getting into any of that stuff, they keep it all very surface. Okay, she's in pain. This is terrible. She's in this dark place in her life right now. Cool, let's keep going with that and find out how that leads into this alien invasion. But then it's the same thing. We meet this person, something dark happens, something mysterious happens, and go over here. And it's just, I get it. But again, there's a difference between a slow burn and putting you to sleep. I've been watching this story now for almost 3 hours. And we're just getting at the world going, oh, hey, something funny's going on. We're 3 hours in. So this is something that I wanted to enjoy. And for all I know, maybe this business is going to pick up, and this is going to turn into a fantastic show and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I got to say, I'm probably not going to be around to watch it. I've just kind of given up on it. I gave it 3 hours. It didn't do anything to hook me in 3 hours. And if you can't hook somebody in 3 hours, I doubt you're going to be able to hook them in. There have been exceptions to that, obviously. Spartacus, a few other things. There have been exceptions to that. But generally speaking, if you can't get me hooked in 3 hours, I don't have a lot of faith you can hook me in at all. So I've kind of given up on it. But the question is for you guys. Have you guys had a chance to check out this new series on Apple TV Plus, Invasion? If so, maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe you think it's just really building the suspension. You're just waiting for that powder keg to go off. Or maybe you found it kind of a letdown and too slow for like I did. I don't know. However you guys are feeling about it, jump on down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. By the way, I want to shout out Kevin Cow and BK Dan, both sending super chat badges in the live chat. Thank you guys very much for supporting the channel. Okay. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Cool Kid 260, who writes, Bill Murray was asked in an interview about if he will ever join the MCU. Well, he wasn't exactly asked that directly, but at any rate, his response was that he already filmed something in which he hints that it was for Ant-Man 3. Do you think it was a supporting role or a cameo for the film? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, the Ant-Man films are, to me, very underrated. Whenever people bring up the MCU, and they're the great films in the MCU. I don't often hear people mention the first Ant-Man movie. And to me, that's a shame, because what Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, the director Peyton Reed, what they were able to do with that first Ant-Man movie, to me, it is truly one of the most entertaining movies they've done. It's a different scale, like it's not saving the universe, but it's a much smaller scale movie, but I found it charming, and I thought the dialogue was great. I thought it was really funny. Michael Pena in it has become an all-time iconic MCU character to me. Luis is an all-time iconic MCU character to me. I don't care what anybody else says. He just totally is. Anyway, so I like this. Now, I really did like Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I didn't like it as much as the first Ant-Man, admittedly, but still. I find myself very excited for Ant-Man 3. And then we found out that Kang the Conqueror was going to be the main villain of Ant-Man 3, which to me is very interesting in and of itself, especially even before Loki, but especially after seeing Loki, got really into that idea. And that sounds really cool. I like the idea a lot. So here we go. On top of all that, there's always been a lot of speculation about, do you think we'll see Bill Murray do an Ant-Man film? And apparently he's just now confirmed that he is in Ant-Man 3. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who write the following. This is them quoting Bill Murray. Recently I made a Marvel movie before immediately seeming to regret the disclosure. I probably won't tell you, but never mind, he added. Still, Murray pressed on, explaining that despite the Marvel Cinematic Universe not really being in his normal thing, he was wooed to join the movie by director Peyton Reed. In any case, Bill Murray says, some people were quite surprised why I decided on such a project, Murray said. His quotes have been translated by Google from the original German story. But for me, the thing was quite clear. I got to know the director and really liked him very much. He was funny, humble, everything you want from a director. And this, of course, comes to us from Variety, quoting Bill Murray on the fact that he's now doing Ant-Man 3. Now, it should be pointed out that the Variety article makes it pretty clear that Bill Murray didn't say Peyton Reed by name, but he referenced that he talked to the director, and then he referenced one of Peyton Reed's other movies. So it made it pretty clear that this is the movie he's doing. Now, before anybody gets too excited about that news, before anybody gets too excited, it's like, Bill Murray's now joining the MCU. He's going to be a regular in the MCU. I've got bad news for you. That's not true. Because Variety also points out in the article, he was asked, do you think he'll be a regular fixture? It says, but unlike these actors, fans should not expect Murray to become a fixture in the MCU, because Bill Murray went on to say, when asked if he could continue to do more, he said, let's put it this way. The director is a good guy, and now I've at least tried out what it's like to shoot a Marvel movie, Murray told Faz when asked if he regrets making the superhero film. But I don't think I need that experience a second time. And that comes to us from Bill Murray. So don't expect to see him in more comic book movies moving forward. But it's official. Bill Murray is in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Or Ant-Man 3, I should say. At Quantumania. And I think this is great. First of all, I love Paul Rudd. I love him. He's hilarious. He's funny. I love him in the role of Ant-Man playing Scott Lang. Fantastic. I really hope we get to see a lot of on-screen pairing between Paul Rudd and Bill Murray in this movie. Because, you asked in the question, is it just going to be a quick cameo or is it a legitimate role? I think it's actually going to be somewhere in between. Because the rumors that I heard was that Bill Murray was actually on set for a couple of weeks. So not for months, but I heard he was on set for a couple of weeks. That might be true. That might not be true. What that suggests to me, if it is true, if it was a couple of weeks, that suggests that it is obviously far more than a cameo. It's obviously far more than a cameo, but definitely not a lead role, right? So probably somebody that'll have maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 scenes in the movie. At least I think. But that's just a guess. For all we know, it could be a 5-second appearance. For all we know, he could be in it for 20 minutes. No idea. But I just love the idea that he's going to be here and in this. And again, this kind of emphasizes a trend and a pattern that we've seen for the last couple of years, right? Which is that it used to be that a comic book film would have to beg, borrow, and steal to try to get a legitimate actor name to appear in their movie. But now they all do these movies. Even guys like Bill Murray, who at one point sounded like he would never do any kind of a comic book film. That wasn't his wheelhouse. Even now, Bill Murray is coming in and appearing in these films. And in this case, an MCU film that he decides to send out, just talk about straight up. So, I mean, I think that says a lot. I don't think there's anybody, any actor in the world now who is completely off limits to being in a comic book movie. I mean, hell, even Handsome Hawk, Ethan Hawke himself, who a couple of years ago said, yeah, comic book movies aren't really my thing. Well, now he's in Moon Knight. Now he's the bad guy in Moon Knight, right? So I think now there's only really a few that I wonder if they would do a comic book. Like, I really think every actor would do. I mean, look, if you get Robert Redford doing comic book movies, and you get Sir Ben Kingsley doing comic book movies, and you get guys like Sir Anthony Hopkins doing comic book movies. Hell, now you've got Helen freaking Mirren doing comic book movies. She's in the upcoming Shazam 2. Who is off limits? I would say that there are maybe only two names. I mean, even Brad Pitt appeared in a comic book movie, although it was only for about 2 seconds on screen in the Deadpool 2. But at any rate, I think there's only two names that I still wonder if we would ever see in a comic book movie. Those two names to me are, one, Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, I would love to see DiCaprio. I would love to see him do one of these. That would bring a lot of an overused word that I don't like using because it sounds pretentious, but gravitas, right? If we had Leonardo DiCaprio doing a comic book movie, that would bring a lot of gravitas. But the other name probably will never happen because he is now retired, but is the GOAT of all GOATs. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my God, it would be great to see Daniel Day-Lewis suit up in a DC movie or a Marvel movie or something like that. That would be awesome. It's the only two names left I can figure that we don't have so far. But like everybody else I see a bunch of people saying Denzel. I can totally see Denzel doing a comic book movie. I could totally see him doing it. So the only two guys that I wonder about would be Leonardo DiCaprio or Daniel Day-Lewis. Or would those two guys do one? That, because I totally believe Denzel, for the right movie, he would do it in a heartbeat, I think. But there's that. Anyway, the question for you guys is, what do you think about this? Bill Murray is in Ant-Man 3, what's it called? Quantumania. What do you think about this? I think this is fantastic news. Do you think it's going to be a larger role? Do you think it's going to be just a quick cameo somewhere in between? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And by the way, I want to give a shout out here to Kevin Peterson, who sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that, man, very much. As does our friend Black Bono Lala as well. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. All right. With that down, guys, let's now move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Paul Starguy, who writes, according to Variety, Legendary Entertainment announced Tuesday that Dune 2 has been greenlit. Yes, it has. And is expected to have an exclusive theatrical run starting on October 20th, 2023. I saw Dune Friday and enjoyed it immensely. It's beautifully filmed and covers all of the major plot points. I love the Dune universe as I've read all the original books, plus 8 of the Brian Herbert / Kevin Anderson ones. I now know my most anticipated movie for 2023. What are your thoughts? All right, Paul Starguy, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, listen, I am in love with this movie, Dune. I think it's great. Is it my number one film of the year? No, but I think it's fantastic. I think this Dune movie was made to perfection. Not that it's a perfect movie, but that it was a perfect translation of the Dune story. I don't think it's possible, to do a Dune movie as well as Denis Villeneuve just did the Dune movie. I think it's perfection in that way. I absolutely loved it. The ending feels a little abrupt, yes, but that's bound to happen because the movie had to be chopped up in half. So that was going to happen. I'm perfectly fine with it. It totally reminded me of the end of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. It's like they all accomplished something, they got somewhere, and then it ends with the characters going, okay, let's walk over there now. And they start walking away. That's the ending of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Dune Part 1. Anyway, I thought it was fantastic. And, the question had been kind of floating around a little bit. Do we think Dune's going to get a sequel? Well, I started saying a couple of weeks ago, guys, it's going to get a sequel because it doesn't matter. Either Warner Brothers greenlights a sequel now, or once David Zaslav, the CEO of Discovery, once Discovery and Zaslav take over Warner Brothers, they're going to greenlight it. So either way, it's going to get greenlit. And then yesterday, the news dropped, okay, it's now official. They've greenlit the second part. And that's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's good news. I'm happy about that news. I definitely want to see part 2. But I also call bullshit. I call bullshit on this. And here's why I call bullshit on this. First of all, let's go over and take a look at what they said in Variety. And I'll get to the point why I'm going to call bullshit on this. Warner Brothers will distribute the film and help finance it, though Legendary Pictures is still the primary money behind the movie and owns the film rights to the book series. The film is expected to have an exclusive theatrical run, and Legendary will likely make that point ironclad after Dune debuted it simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max last week, which totally pissed off Legendary when they did that anyway. The unorthodox distribution pattern was a pandemic-era concession by Warner Brothers, but one that caused an uproar when it was unveiled in 2020. Dune Part 2 will hit theaters on October 20th, 2023. All right. So, John, what do you mean when you say you are calling bullshit? Are you saying that you don't think this movie is going to happen? Oh, no. That's not it at all. I mean, we've known for a while this was going to happen, whether Warner Brothers greenlit it now, whether Discovery greenlit it later when they take over Warner. We knew this was going to happen. So I don't think it's bullshit that this movie's going to happen. It's going to happen. But here's what I'm going to call bullshit on. The fact or the idea that this was ever in question. I'm going to call BS on the facade that they presented, that a lot of us bought into, that Dune getting a part 2 was ever really in question. And I'll tell you what does that for me. It's the ending of this quote. It's going to hit theaters October 20th, 2023. Okay. Here's the thing. You do know, of course, that coming up with a release date is not like a quick arbitrary thing, right? Like, it's not like they pick up their phones and go, oh, great, we just decided we're going to do Dune 2. Okay, so we're decided? Okay, great. Let me just open up my calendar here. Hey, guys, October 20th, 2023. Should we just nail that? Yeah? Okay, great. Let's put an announcement that Dune 2's been released, or that Dune 2 is going to get made. No. They put a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of thought and a lot of research and a lot of market study into determining release dates for their movies. That's a big deal to them because it's a part of maximizing what they think the return is going to be on their investment. So when they come out and say, hey, Dune 2's been greenlit October 20th, 2023, what that tells me was that the decision to greenlight Dune 2 was actually made a long time ago. If they've already got the release date set, that means the decision to greenlight this movie was made a long time ago. Whether a long time ago means 15 days ago, whether a long time ago means 5 weeks ago, whether a long time ago means 3 months ago, I don't know. But this movie was greenlit. Also, the other thing that makes me think that they're just deciding now to officially do Dune 2 is the whole Legendary Pictures aspect of this. Because you guys remember when Warner Brothers first announced that they were going to release Dune on HBO Max on the same day, you guys remember Legendary was pissed. They were pissed and they were talking lawsuits against Warner Brothers. But then that quietly went away. Well, it could have been that as much as a year ago, Legendary got an assurance from Warner Brothers. Hey, look. Well, let's do the second one. And we promise, no HBO Max for it, pure theatrical exclusive. Plus we'll give you $150 million or whatever their deal ended up being. Now, at this point, I'm just speculating. Oh my God. And I just got to shout this out. John Benedict in the live chat just put out a good title for Dune 3. Dune 3, No Time to Dune. Well said, John Benedict. Well said. That's pretty funny. Okay. Anyway, but as I start to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, it's like, well, wait a minute. Legendary was pissed and all of a sudden they made a deal. There was already release date set. Oh, and by the way, if this movie is coming out in 2 years, that means they were fully at work on Dune 2 already. Dune 2's, and I'm not saying you're in front of cameras and shooting, but they've been at work on this Dune project for a while. All right? They've been at work on this Dune project for a while. Clearly. If they've already got this done. So putting all this stuff together, it makes me wonder, has this just been like a big work? Have they just been kind of manipulating us as the audience, which it wouldn't be the first time a studio has done this, and they all do it. Paramount does it, Disney does it, Warner Brothers does it, they all do it. Has this all just been one big fake manipulation to increase interest in the audience and to get the fans to demand Dune 2 when really they knew all along they were doing Dune 2? That's kind of what it feels like to me. But okay, let's put that part aside for a second. I am, as a fan, very happy that they have greenlit Dune 2. I am looking forward to this. Like I said, I love the movie that's in theaters right now. I know where the story is going. So seeing what Denis Villeneuve has done with the first part of the story, I cannot wait to see what he's going to do with the second part of the story. I'm over the moon. I'm thrilled. And I'm also thrilled that it's only going to come in 2 years. Like when we all thought naively, me included, when I naively believed this fake work that Warner Brothers and Legendary have been putting on, that, ooh, we don't know if we're going to do Dune 2 or not. Oh, la, 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 la. When I was naively buying into that BS, I was like, man, it's going to be at least 3 years till we see this. Because if they greenlight it, then they got to lay the foundation. They got to get the script all written, tightened up. They got to do all the pre-production, shoot it, post-production. It's going to be at least 3 years. Well, because that was all the BS work they were doing, this thing's going to be ready in 2 because they've already done a ton of work. This is already known in the Warner Brothers offices that this has been greenlit for a long time. I don't know that they'll ever admit it, but I totally believe that is the case. So anyway, but I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled they're doing it. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? First of all, are you excited that they've greenlit Dune 2? Maybe you're one of these people that you didn't like the first one. That's totally cool. I personally loved it. Are you excited about this? And secondly, what do you think about my little tinfoil hat theory that, to me, this is pretty clear this has all been a work. They knew they were doing this. Obviously, if they've got the release date set, it's only 2 years away. Come on, this has obviously been done. But maybe you think it is really just a crazy tinfoil hat theory. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. By the way, guys, I want to shout out to a few other people who've been sending in super chat badges in the live chat. B Gill Studio sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, B Gill. Mr. Golfwang969 sends one in. Thank you, dude, very much. As does, where'd that last one go? I knew there was another one here. Eric Cole sends in a super chat badge as well. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it, man. Anyway, guys, with all that down and out of the way, let's now move on and start taking your live comments and questions, shall we? And how do we select? How do you get your live comment or question on the show? It's easy. Once again, like we said at the beginning, just go down into the description of this video. You'll see a tip link. Click on that there manually, or you could enter it into your own web browser at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on our show, of course, if we deem it appropriate for our show. And of course, you'll be supporting our channel at the same time. And all of us here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. And before we get to that, Double B Studios and Jody Harkavi. Jody Harkavi sends like a $10 super chat badge in live chat. Thank you guys very much for supporting us. Okay, let's get over and start taking these live questions, shall we? We're going to start off here with Dangerous D, who writes, hey, John, actor Alan Cummings, who's actually on that show Dune right now, that I think is also on Apple TV+. It's actually a pretty good show. You should check it out. Actor Alan Cummings did an interview, and the subject of the time he played Nightcrawler in X-Men 2. He said he had a bad time making the film because of the director, Bryan Singer, created a toxic environment. That experience made him swear that he'll no longer do superhero movies. Though I sympathize to what he went through, is it right for him to blame the hero genre just because one director was an a-hole? That doesn't mean the whole genre has the same environment. What do you think? Honestly, I am I don't tend to like giving commentary on, you know, people in the entertainment industry starting to air dirty laundry about each other. I mean, unless it has a direct impact on the movies we immediately have in front of us or upcoming, I tend to stay away from that stuff because, as I've discovered, there are two sides to every story. I'm not taking anybody's sides here. I'm just saying, in general, overall, I'm not talking about Alan Cummings' situation. I just generally don't care to comment on or get involved in the dirty laundry airing that two individuals had. Because I wasn't there, you weren't there. I mean, it becomes a he said, she said. And again, I'm not talking about Cummings' situation specifically. I'm talking in general. So unless it's something like with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp situation, which is having an immediate big impact on the big movies we have right in front of us and what will and will not get made, I tend not to like to address that stuff. But I will say this. If anybody has a bad experience on a comedy movie, should they swear off all comedy movies or just swear off the thing that made them have a bad experience? It's a good question. I think maybe it might be a bit of an overreaction, but only Alan knows what Alan knows. And only Alan knows himself, and maybe it was more than that. We don't know. Anyway, good question, Dangerous. By the way, Rafael Castillo sends in a $10 super chat badge in live chat. Thank you, man. As well as our friends Colby, Collins, and JTS also send in super chat badges. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to the next topic here. Jonathan writes, I just realized Frances McDormand, one of the greatest actresses, was in Transformers: Dark of the Moon. What Oscar-winning actor do you know that has starred in a subpar movie like Transformers? Tons. It's not a minor thing. Listen, Michael Douglas, when I was sitting down and talking to Mike, do you guys remember this, by the way? Somebody sent this to me and reminded me of this. Do you guys remember this? Let me get a smaller version of the picture. Now, the guy in the blue shirt, that's me. That's me. The four guys on the couch are Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Kline, and Robert De Niro. And the guy in the blue shirt, that idiot in the blue shirt, turning his back on Robert De Niro as Robert De Niro is reaching out and trying to shake my hand. Yeah, that's me leaving Robert De Niro hanging. That idiot is me leaving Robert De Niro hanging. Anyway, okay, in case you haven't heard this story before, so I get back from the doing the Las Vegas press thing, and I send the video over to Dennis Zen because Dennis Zen was going to edit it, right? And Dennis calls me, or he sends me a text message a little bit later in the evening. He says, John, have you really taken a look at this footage? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? He goes, you left Robert De Niro hanging. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he sends me this still image. And I'm like, ooh! Like, I'm pretty sure there are like afterlife consequences for this. And I was agog. Robert De Niro is sitting there making an effort, reaching out his hand to shake my hand. And I'm like turning my back and walking away off him. If you ever want to feel like a giant idiot, there's lots of times I made myself feel like a giant idiot. This is one of the big ones. But the reason I bring up this whole Las Vegas thing is just a few minutes before this picture was taken, just a few minutes before this moment, I was looking at and talking to Michael Douglas, and I said to Michael Douglas, a standard question you'd ask, what was it about this comedy? Because Las Vegas is great, by the way. Las Vegas is great. I love that movie. But I said, what was it about this comedy that really attracted you to it? And he said something that was so refreshingly honest that I was expecting some, artistic answer. Well, the nuance of the character, but that's not what he said. He took a breath. He shrugged his shoulders the way Michael Douglas does. And he goes, here's the thing. I am an actor for hire. This is my craft. This is my job. And when a filmmaker comes to me and they have a job they'd like me to do, it's my job as an actor. I mean, as long as I like at least what the project is, to come in and do the best job that I can to work my craft, to practice my craft and come in and give it. I'm an actor for hire. And so that mentality, and Michael Keaton or Michael Keaton. Michael Douglas is an Academy Award winning Hollywood royalty actor descended from the great Kirk Douglas. He is Hollywood royalty. And you bet your ass Michael Douglas has been in some crap. Ben Kingsley has been in some awful crap. A ton of Academy Award winners have been in a lot of crap because this is their job. They'll be in a lot of movies, and you just don't know when a movie's going to be good or not. Like, you can read the script, you can think the script is great, you can talk to the director, maybe the director's got great vision, but until that movie's actually done, every movie's a risk. And even if all these Academy Award winners are wanting to be really picky, they're still going to end up being in some crap. So it's not a rare thing, Jonathan. It's not a rare thing. And yeah, that was, again, me reliving the moment, that horrific moment that I realized I left Robert De Niro hanging. I wonder if he'll remember that. I probably won't. He probably met like with 20 interviewers that day. All right, next up, Chuck the Mystery writes, "Hey, John, one of two. My favorite film of the year had to have been Suicide Squad until this past weekend when I saw Dune. Timothée Chalamet was everything I thought Paul should be. I agree. And I 100% agree with you that he could be the next Daniel Day-Lewis. Before you saw the film, what? So that was part one. Oh, from Chuck the Mystery. Okay, before you saw the film, you made a prediction that it would get a Best Picture nomination at the Academy Award. Well, that was a wild pull out of my ass guess. I hadn't seen the movie yet. I would get a Best Picture nomination at the Academy Awards. Having seen the film, over under 40%, that actually happens. Also, when Discovery takes over, are you still certain that we get a part two? Thanks." And obviously, Chuck wrote this in before the end of yesterday's show. Yes. Obviously it is getting part two. So that's now completely official and that's all good. I'm going to say yes. In an era that we've lived in now for a number of years, in an era where they can have up to 10 nominations for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, yes, I think Dune is going to get a Best Picture nomination. Yeah, I think it will. I don't know that it'll win. But yeah, in an era that we live in where there are 10 Academy Award nominations for Best Picture, I do think it's going to get one of those nominations. That's just my guess. By the way, Colby sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. He sends in a couple of them. Thank you, Colby, for your support, man. All right. Next up, we've got Anonymous who writes, "Hey, John and Rob," and obviously Rob's not here this week. "I will be doing a double feature of films this weekend, them being none other than Tango Shalom, which is Rob's movie. Everybody get out and check out that movie when you get a chance, whether it's playing in a theater near you or once it hits VOD, which I believe is happening later this month. And Movie Trailers, A Love Story, which is, of course, my documentary about movie trailers, which you can find on Amazon. Just go on to Amazon and search for Movie Trailers, A Love Story. You should be able to find it there. I finally get to see both of these gems together. I wish I could have seen it on the big screen, but this works too." Well, thank you so much, Anonymous. And by the way, I should mention this in case I have not already, and I don't know where. Let me see if I can bring this up here. Give me 1 second. Movie Trailers, A Love Story. Let me see if I can find the Amazon link for this. Yeah, here we go. So let me ask you guys this. For those of you who live within an hour or two of Los Angeles, you guys know I've got here's my documentary, Movie Trailers, A Love Story, that you once again you can go and get on Amazon right now. That I put a lot of my passion into this. There's Greg Alba. Put a lot of heart and passion into this movie, and thank you to everybody who has watched it and supported it already. Let me ask you something. If I were to do a screening in the Los Angeles area, if I were to do an actual in-person screening and open it up for you guys to come to and stuff like that, and we did a live in-person screening with like a Q&A afterwards, and, you know, me and Ann would be there, and obviously probably get Rob and Greg and Scott Mance or whatever to be there. Would you guys come down and watch that screening? I mean, you could just watch it on Amazon, which you should. Everybody go and buy it on Amazon. But I mean, would you guys come down and do that? I would be interested to know if you would, because one of the things, what I would hate to do is if I booked a theater, and schedule the live screening of Movie Trailers Love Story, and then like me and Ann are the only ones there. Nobody shows up. That would hurt. That would hurt so bad. Let me know if you guys would do that. It would be interesting to know. Okay, let's keep moving on here, shall we? Next up, we've got, that was anonymous. Then we just Chuck the Mystery. Next up, another one from Chuck the Mystery who writes, "Hey, John, with the Batman coming in March and the day and date streaming ending soon, provided that we have no massive pandemic spikes by then, over under 60% that the film can make $1 billion worldwide and have a $100 million domestic opening weekend. Thanks." I don't know. It's hard to say right now what can and can't happen. But okay, you know what? I will say I'll take over 60%. Like not 90%, not 95%, but I'll take over 60%. And I think the main reason I'll take over 60% is because I actually think Spider-Man No Way Home will be able to do that. I think Spider-Man No Way Home will open to over 100 million, and I think it will make $1 billion worldwide. Listen, we've had movies like Fast 9 and Black Widow like make north of 700, close to 800 million worldwide. I think Spider-Man No Way Home can do it. I think it will do it. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing that, but I think it definitely has a really good shot at it. And then by March, I mean, so much of it depends on word of mouth. Once critics start seeing it, is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? But yeah, I will say over 60%. Over 60%. I will give that. Not a certainty, but I'll take over 60%. Okay, next up. Brooks Kirk writes, "Hey, John. I could not be more excited for the Batman next year. Cast looks good. The cinematography looks amazing. Paul Dano sounds awesome as Riddler. Paul Dano is so tragically underrated as an actor. If it wasn't for the fact that Daniel Day-Lewis was also in There Will Be Blood and giving maybe the greatest single performance in movie history, we would be talking about Paul Dano's performance in that movie a lot more, because Dano was Oscar worthy as well. I think he got nominated too. Anyway, also noticed in both trailers, we get a dark Riddler from Riddler, a dark Riddle from Riddler. Yes, March can't get here soon enough. Brooks, man, I am so excited for this movie. That trailer was fire. Cannot wait. Andy from Canada, hello, good Canadian kid, writes in, "Good day, John and Rob." And Rob's not here this week. "Why do studios that have their own streaming services will make content for competing streaming services? One example is You, which my wife watches like obsessively, is a Warner Brothers production streaming on Netflix. Isn't the best practice to air your content on your own service?" It's a good question, Andy, and one that has come in before. And you got to understand this. These companies actually operate and function like different companies. Like these different divisions of Warner Brothers actually function like their own individual companies. Like their own individual companies. And then they have shareholders and stakeholders in those projects. And then to be fair to your shareholders and stakeholders who are vested in these projects, you have to make effort to get top dollar that you can. And there may be a project that Warner Brothers Television makes, and it's, HBO Max doesn't give the top bid for it. Maybe Netflix gives the top bid for it. Maybe Paramount Plus gives the top bid for it. And in those cases, you have a fiduciary responsibility and a legal obligation to go with whoever gave you the top dollar, because you have a fiduciary responsibility to the stakeholders in that project. Now, it's different if HBO Max does an original production of their own. That's their own in-house project. But like Warner Brothers Television and things like that, these are companies that operate as independent entities under one umbrella, but they still have to conduct business a certain way. So that's a very convoluted answer to it, but that's just basically the gist of it. If any of you guys have a good link to an article online that explains that a little bit more, please share it in the comments below, but that just gives you a little bit of an idea of that. All right. Next up, we've got, by the way, Tyler James, I should say, not James Tyler. Tyler James sends in like a $10 super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. All right. Next up, we go to, who's next? Tribal Chief writes, Sony just dated 2 Marvel films for June 23rd and October 6th of 2023. Along with Craven in January, that's 3 Spider-Verse films in 2023, which is crazy. What films do you think those mystery dates are for? In my opinion, Venom 3 in October and Spider-Woman or Spidey 4 in June. Yeah, listen, this is the billion dollar question, right? Because you guys know that I believe that Spider-Man No Way Home is the big event that is going to usher Spider-Man out of the MCU and back over to the Sony Spider-Verse. I mean, I don't have proof of that. Nobody at Sony has told me that. I don't know this for a fact. Like, this isn't like when I said Ben Affleck is done as Batman years ago, and it turned out I was right. Like, I knew that was a fact, and I was just telling people because I did find out that it was a fact that was happening. This isn't that. I don't know this for a fact, but this is what I have believed for the last 2 years, ever since they announced Disney and Sony did a temporary re-upping of their deal. I said back at the time, I bet they re-upped this deal so they could just finish out this storyline properly and give Spider-Man a proper exit out of the MCU. And I'm not going to give away spoilers, but the end credits of Venom basically confirms that. I think the end credits of Venom basically confirm that Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a big event that ushers Spider-Man out of the MCU and back over to the Sony Spider-Verse. But I don't know that that's true. I think it is, but we'll find out. And we'll find out shortly, because Spider-Man No Way Home is almost here. So I think these mystery dates in 2023, one of them is absolutely going to involve Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the Sony Spider-Verse. Again, I don't know that for a fact, but I absolutely believe that is the case. It's everything. The whole Venom end credit scene is all setting up Spider-Man and everything coming back over to the Sony Spider-Verse. That's what I believe. And so I believe that one of those dates is that. Again, I don't know that for a fact. That's just me speculating as a fan. Could be right, could be wrong. But I think one of those mystery dates is absolutely for our first look at the Tom Holland Spider-Man in the Sony Spider-Verse. So yeah, that's what we'll get. Anyway, that's just a guess. And by the way, Salinas Production sends in a super chat badge in the live chat, as does Tyler James sends in another one. Thank you guys. Appreciate that very much. Okay, let's get back over here. Next up, Toshi Victor writes, Go Stros! So glad. Yeah, they got spanked last night. Anyway, so glad we're back in the World Series. Sorry if you're a Dodgers fan, John. I'm not really a baseball fan. Like, I'll cheer for the Dodgers because I'm here. I'll cheer for the Blue Jays because that's kind of my home team. But I'm not really a baseball fan. To be honest with you, I'm not really a baseball fan. Sorry if you're a Dodgers fan, John, but I'm glad Atlanta finally is at the World Series. If we can't win, the Braves are who I'd want as champs. Also, what do you think on the Doom Patrol season? Thanks. You know what? I just got caught up on the latest Doom Patrol episode yesterday. While I loved the first 3 episodes of the new season, I gotta say, I'm not loving this Sisterhood of the Dada storyline so far. I'm actually finding it kind of hard to get through. I feel like nothing's happening, and I'm not really digging it, and I'm not really into this point at this stuff right now. But still, overall, I've enjoyed the season so far. I just haven't really liked the last couple of episodes, but that's just me. All right, by the way, Colby sends in another super chat badge in live chat. Thank you, Colby. All right, next up, we've got Phil Lemcool. I'm going to butcher this. Phil Lemcool? I hope I'm saying that right, man. Writes, Fans since the early cramped quarters of AMC days. Thank you, Phil. I just want to say thanks for you and the rest of the crew's insights on things. Had it not been for said insights, I would never have been pumped to see Shang-Chi, nor would I be more pumped to see Eternals next week. Well, I'm glad, man. Listen, it's always fun when, as a film pundit, I get to hear from people saying, because of you, I went to go see this movie and I had a great time. That makes me feel really good. It really does. I'm glad you did, and I hope you enjoy Eternals. Again, listen, Eternals isn't going to be for everybody. It's a very different kind of movie than the MCU normally makes. And I don't know how traditional MCU movie fans are going to respond to it, to be honest. I really enjoyed it a lot. So I hope you do too. Let me know what your thoughts once you do. And by the way, Neil Holmes sends in $8.99 from over there, I believe in the UK. Thank you, Neil, for sending that in the live chat badge, man. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we've got Anne is right about Dune, writes. Anne loves Dune. John, Denis Villeneuve made a video for Vanity Fair breaking down the pain scene. That scene was awesome. It made me appreciate the scene so much more. Have you seen this? If so, what did you think of that whole scene in general? No, I did not watch that video. I haven't seen it. Obviously, I know the scene we're talking about. If you remove your hand, you die. I love that whole scene. Was great. That was badass. I love that scene. Anyway. But no, I haven't seen the video of it. I'll have to go and check it out at some point. But the scene itself is terrific. To me, it was one of the highlights of the movie. All right. Next up, Casey McNatt writes, okay, John, the question we all want to know is, what was better to you, Eternals or Dune? They're two completely different movies, and I like both of them very, very much. I would personally have to give the edge to Dune. I think Eternals is great. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it does a lot of things that are very, very different, but I would give the nod to Dune. So yeah, I prefer Dune. I mean, Eternals isn't even my favorite comic book movie of the year. That's still Shang-Chi, but I do love it. I do really, really, really like Eternals. I think the most of you will as well, but yeah, I got to give it to Dune. Got to give it to Dune. All right. Jabin Carter writes, one of three. John, I have a crazy theory here, but stay with me. I think what we are going to see in the Multiverse of Madness is Doctor Strange, along with other heroes, possibly Wanda, Loki, Sylvie, Spider-Man, etc., will have to solve the multiverse crisis before it gets out of hand. With their combined forces, they will rein it all in. However, they will not be able to restore the sacred timeline, and instead, there will be three timelines that will remain: the Sonyverse, the MCU, and the X-Men verse. This is my opinion, could possibly provide a satisfying conclusion to the multiverse storyline, and at the same time allows Sony to keep Spider-Man separate, and Marvel can keep X-Men separate without diluting the MCU timeline. What are your thoughts? Well, here's what I think, Jabin. I think I like your theory a whole lot more than I think it actually has a possibility of being what happens. I don't think they're doing that at all. I do not think they're going to keep X-Men separate from the rest of the MCU. I totally believe they should keep the X-Men separate from the rest of the MCU. I believe with all the thousands of characters in there, the X-Men should have its own completely separate individual cinematic universe. I totally believe that. Totally believe that. But I don't believe that's what they're going to do. I think they are going to integrate them into the MCU, into by the way, an already starting to feel overstuffed MCU. And listen, I love the MCU. You know I love the MCU, but it's starting to feel overstuffed. It really is. And I worry that now when they bring in like all these dozens and dozens of X-Men characters, I don't know. At any rate, so I'll just say that, Jabin, I like your theory more than I actually think it has a possibility of happening, but we'll see. We don't have too much longer to wait. Jabin, thanks for sending that in, man. Jody Harkavy writes, Delroy Lindo not getting a nomination was a snub. I don't know that I would call it a snub. Now look, no doubt, Delroy Lindo in Da 5 Bloods, he was fantastic. He was fantastic. But you know me, unless it is clear and obvious that that performer should have won the award, then not getting nominated, I don't think you can call a snub. It's I think snub is a way overused word. Hey, I kind of like that movie and the director didn't get a nomination for Best Director. Snub! I think snub is a term that is drastically overused. So while I personally would have nominated Delroy Lindo for an Oscar for his role in Da 5 Bloods, I would have. Do I think him not getting the nomination is as drastic as calling it a snub? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so personally, but that's just me. All right, next up. Wesley Cunningham writes, finally saw The Last Duel, I should say. I finally saw The Last Duel, and big props to Hosfner, Damon, and Affleck on that script and Scott's direction. Maybe the best pacing I've seen in a 2.5-hour movie in a long time. Even Dune, which I love, still felt a little dense here and there with all the lore. Yeah, listen, I did enjoy The Last Duel. I particularly love the performances in it. Like, Adam Driver, Comer, Matt Damon, Affleck. The performances were out of this world fantastic. And it's a really good story. I just, again, had issues with the way they structured the story. Tell it all from one perspective. Then take another 45 minutes to tell the same story from another perspective, just repeating a lot of stuff that we've already seen. Then tell it all again in another 45 plus minute segment and repeating a lot of stuff that we've already seen, some with differences, some with no differences. To me, it kind of impacted the flow of the film. Again, it's a great story, terrific performances, and overall, I give it a thumbs up. I like The Last Duel. I think people should see it. Certainly more people than did. But I still feel like the way they structured the story slowed it down unnecessarily a lot. But anyway, that's just kind of my thing. But overall, in a thumbs up or thumbs down world, I give The Last Duel a thumbs up. I did enjoy it. All right, next up. Sam Fisher writes, do you think for the Dune sequel, they will just call it Dune Part 2, or will they co-op on the sequel names and call it something like Dune Messiah? No. They're going to, because this is still just the first Dune. And by calling the first one Dune Part 1, that clearly means they're going to just call the next one Dune Part 2. And I believe they've already made it now official that it's just going to be called Dune Part 2. So I think that's official now, Sam. All right. Incredible Dialogue writes, what's a line from the prequels that makes you cringe? Oh, dude, there's dozens. Okay, anyway. No. Anyway, mine is either, I wish that I could just wish away my feelings, or Anakin saying, no, I'm so deeply in love with you. To Paddle? You mean to Padme? Oh my God, Lucas. Oh, I am truly, deeply in love with you. Or the whole thing about them rolling down the grass, or the whole line about sand, but again, to me, it's just the whole Vader. No, there's so many bad ones. All right. BK Dan writes, Mephisto confirmed he'll be there in Dune 2 in 2023. Wouldn't doubt it at all. All right, CM Duggs just sends in a tip just to be supportive. Thank you, CM Duggs. Appreciate that, man. Koa1708 writes, this is a follow-up to my question on the film format in theaters. You said most major theaters now use digital projectors, 4K laser, but how does the theaters get the movie? Is it an MP4 file that is stored on a hard drive and then gets delivered to AMC? Well, I mean, it's been a number of years since I worked at AMC, so my information might be a little bit out of date. When movie theaters first started the transition from celluloid, from film projectors, over to digital, at first, it's my understanding that the studios literally had to deliver these big hard drives that held the movies on them to the movie theaters. They still had to be physically delivered. Now, though, I believe it was already happening when I was still at AMC, I believe, but now it's much more elegant. Now they download, instead of having to physically hand deliver this giant hard drive that then takes light in, I believe now there are online content management systems that they're connected to, and they just download the assets that they need. That includes the trailers and all that kind of stuff, and the movies in themselves. So I believe now they just download them. They're not I guarantee you they're not MP4 files, but they just download those things now. They're massive, massive files. But I believe, now they just kind of file transfer them to each other, which still takes some time, instead of a much more longer process and a much more expensive process of actually hand delivering the hard drives. All right. Interesting question, Koa. Thanks for asking, man. Next up, Chris W. writes, hello, John. I'm a huge fan of history, so I was surprised to learn that Warner Brothers is making a movie about Operation Mincemeat, where the British fooled the Germans in World War II with a dead body carrying fake papers, saving thousands of lives. Have you seen the trailer? You know what? I want to say that I've seen the trailer, but I don't remember. I honestly don't. And I feel like we've talked about this. Not really. You know what? Instead of making myself look silly, I'm going to say no, but I feel like I've talked about it at some point, but for now I'll say no. But thanks for giving the heads up on that, Chris. All right. Next up, we got Willow, who writes, I know a producer credit can mean many things, and there's still a lot we don't know yet about what happened on Rust. If you have to speculate, though, do you think Alec Baldwin is likely to be heavily involved in the production and decisions? I mean, I don't know. See, I don't know anything about the film. It would be blind speculation. Look, it is a standard practice these days in Hollywood that when a star signs up to a movie, that they'll negotiate also getting a producer's credit. It doesn't mean they're actually the producer on the film. 9 times out of 10, they are not. It's very rare when a star in a movie is actually like one of the actual functioning producers of the film. Brad Pitt is a good example of that because he has his own production company. And, so he is, but that's not the norm. That's not the norm. And when you get people like Alec Baldwin to sign up for a movie, I mean, I think it's honestly, and again, I'm saying I don't know the information. I don't know. So you're asking me to speculate. Here's my speculation. My speculation is this is just another one of those common things where he signed up for the movie and part of what he got was a producer's credit. I really don't think he was in charge of the film. Now, again, don't take that to the bank. Don't take that to the bank. I don't know for sure, but 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. So I really don't think he was in charge of the production. I haven't seen anything to lead me to believe that he was in charge of the production. He was not the actual functioning producer of the film. As far as I know. All right, next up. Turd Ferguson. Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name. Turd Ferguson. I love that. Hey, John, did you see the behind the scenes episode on the making of Mandalorian season 2 finale? I didn't watch it. No, I haven't. It's interesting that Luke was voiced by an AI as opposed to Mark Hamill. What are the chances we could eventually see Vader voiced by an AI to replace James Earl Jones in future projects? It's unnecessary. And quite frankly, first of all, I get it because Mark Hamill's voice today is very different from his voice back in the 80s, right? His voice has significantly changed. So honestly, I think the better thing to have done was just to hire another actor who can get close to that voice. If you're going to do somebody else to do Vader's voice, and at some point you need to, because James Earl Jones's voice is also changing. I think you get another actor. I don't think you do AI. And honestly, the AI stuff, I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised to hear about that because the dialogue from Luke sounded a little lifeless. I would much prefer they just get an actual actor to do it, but that's just me. All right. Next up, we've got the Black Knight writes. Hey, John, it's been a while. I'm watching, but not really had time to send in questions, so buckle up because I have a few. Okay, here we go, Black Knight. Black Knight writes, the actor must serve the movie, not the other way around. Yes. But in life, sometimes there are exceptions to any rule. Of course, in everything, there's always exceptions. Absolutely. But they are the exceptions. They don't become the norm. There are exceptions. But in life, sometimes there are exceptions to any rule. Is there any off the top of your head in this case? I remember you saying Pacino got them to change the script on The Devil's Advocate. Well, I mean, I don't think that means the actor comes before the story. I think there are probably a lot of stories in Hollywood when an actor came up with a great idea for a movie and convince people to change it. It wasn't to suit the actor, but if it's a good idea, go ahead and change it. So I don't know if that's one of those situations or not, Black Knight. It's a good one. It's a good scenario to bring up, though. All right, Black Knight also writes, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I really thought Martian Manhunter would have some part in the end fight scene after showing up mid-movie. I enjoyed the reshoot, but this really stuck out like a sore thumb. Any thoughts on why they didn't give him some role at the end? Look, I've heard a lot of people complain about it. And yes, on the one hand, to me, Martian Manhunter comes off as a squirmy little bitch in Zack Snyder's Justice League because, hey, here I am in this world. And then after all the fighting is done, after all the danger has passed, after all the life risking has happened, then Martian Manhunter shows up and goes, oh yeah, hey, just so you know, I'm here to help out. You know what that's like? It's like when you're moving and just as you load the last chair into the house after working on it for 6 hours, then your buddy shows up and goes, oh, did I miss it? I really wanted to help you move. Oh, darn, I missed helping you move. That was Martian Manhunter at the end of Justice League. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the rationale behind that was, but it did make him look like an asshole. It totally made Martian Manhunter look like an asshole at the end of it. Hey, is all the fighting done? Yeah? Oh, darn, I missed the fight. Well, just so you know, I'm here to help out now if you ever need me. And like, you're here to help out now that there's nothing to help out with? Yeah. Oh, yeah, like, oh, I sorry, I'm late. Is there anything I can do? You mean after we just loaded the last chair into the house? No, Mark, there's nothing left for you to do. Thanks a lot. You know, that's Martian Manhunter. Anyway, okay, next up. Let's see. We've got Black Knight again writes, do you know if Chris Pratt turned up for Infinity War overweight and they worked in that fat joke, or they asked him to turn up puffy so they could do this, and maybe have him in Thor getting back in shape early next movie to build on the mini rivalry? No, I don't actually think he was puffy, because he was shooting other stuff around that time and he was in great shape. So I don't think that was the case. As far as I know, that was not the case. All right, Black Knight also writes, Bond has had actors in the past cross over to the next series. Judi Dench is M. I'm sure the actor who played Q back in the day crossed over. He did. Is there anyone from Craig's world who you'd like to keep? I liked Q. Yeah, listen, I would totally understand. I would totally understand if they decided, now that the Daniel Craig Bond run is done and they're restarting everything with a brand new Bond, I totally understand just recasting everything. But Ralph Fiennes as M, I think it is. And, what's his name? What's the kid's name who plays Q in this? Anyway, but really Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes is the one I would keep. I just, you guys know what I think of Ralph Fiennes though, right? I believe Ralph Fiennes is, oh, by the way, Marcus Y put in, it's Wishaw. That's right. That's who plays Q. I believe wholeheartedly, like I'll have this debate with anybody. I wholeheartedly believe that Ralph Fiennes is the greatest actor in the world who does not have an Oscar. I believe out of all the actors who don't have Oscars, Ralph Fiennes is the best. I think he's that good. He's got a Daniel Day-Lewis kind of quality to him. I'm not saying he's one of the top 5 greatest actors of all time. I'm just saying I easily think Ralph Fiennes is the best actor in the world right now that doesn't have an Oscar. I think he's phenomenal. So I would love to see that one. Again, I expect they're going to do a full reset of the cast. I expect that, but if they are going to carry over Ralph Fiennes. I would totally love it. By the way, Brush and Ryu Cat sends in a super chat badge in live chat. Thank you, Brush. I appreciate that. All right, guys, last question today. We got to cut today's show a little bit short, just so you know, because I have to drive to go to a dental appointment. I've got my follow-up I've got to go do. So, and my dentist, look, my dentist is actually in Burbank, and now I live in Riverside. It's a little over an hour drive to be there. So you might be saying, John, why didn't you just get a new dentist where you live? That's a great question. The answer is kind of silly. I just really like my dentist's office. I really like them. And I haven't liked my dentists ever in my life. And so I just really trust them. And even though it means I got to make a little bit of a drive, it's kind of worth it to me. Anyway, so I got to go make that drive. Anyway, here we go. Last question today. Comes to us from Black Knight, who also writes, with Bond and Ethan Hunt now at the same studio, I know you said no to a crossover, but how about a taste? Hunt & Co. in London need some tech or help from the locals, and Q from Bond lends a hand. Would you sign this off if it was brought to you? No, I wouldn't. Bond is a sacred cow to me. You don't touch it. And by the way, there's no way the Broccoli family would allow studios to start crossing over those brands. I don't think there's any way the Broccoli family allows that. So not only do I not think it'll happen, by the way, anything can happen in this world. I'm just telling you, I don't think it'll happen. So not only do I not think it'll happen, it's not something I would sign off either. To me, that cheapens the character. When you start throwing them into crossovers, to me, that cheapens them a little bit. I think Bond is Bond. Bond has been around a lot longer. Bond is his own franchise. I don't think you cross Bond over with shit. I don't think that would be a good idea, to be honest with you, but that's just me. All right, guys, listen, there are still more questions to come, but I will do a companion video a little bit later today once I get back from the dentist's office, and we'll be all good. But for now, that'll do it For today's installment of the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chat badges and live chat, and those of you who sent in the live tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget, guys, to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of people around you. Don't forget, again, later tonight, a companion video. Tomorrow, the next episode of the John Campea Show. We'll see you then. And until then, my friends, my name's John Campea. Bye-bye.